YouTube! What the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and we are back on Total War Rome 2, and I've got some fun multiplayer battles for you. Ready to record, I guess, and that's what I'm doing. So, first one's going to be Arverni versus Suebi, and the Battle of Akink, which is going to be a very wooded map, and one player starts high on a hill. It's kind of funny when you look at this map, it really doesn't look like it has any elevation to it, based on the drawing. But there's a considerable elevation for one of the players. So one player will start up here on this hill, and the other in the woods. You have more cover starting from this position, but I mean this map is very woodsy. It makes skirmishing quite difficult. It's very well suited to barbarian factions, actually. It's a good place to protect yourself from eastern factions, the wrath of the open map factions, as you should call them here. So in any case, I've got an Oathsworn General, and then I'm backing him up, I think, with 6 Chosen Swordsmen, which look very similar to Oathsworn. The main difference is they don't have capes. But their stats are considerably lower on a Chosen Swordsman. But still quite a powerful unit. And Iceni Chosen Sword Band actually have Headhunt, which makes them particularly useful. But yeah, I've got Levy Freeman on either flank. I've got 2 Heavy Horse, 2 Noble Riders, or whatever they call them, Noble Cav. And then I've got 1 Savage Dog. I've got no skirmishers whatsoever. This is a pure melee build, and there's 2 reasons why I brought this. Number 1 is we were on this particular map in which skirmishing is difficult. There's a few open areas. Like if we take a tactical overview, there's a few open areas. Like so on this map, there's a wide open area through here, which can make skirmishing possible, and then up here on top of this hill, skirmishing is possible. And then I mean there's just small pockets everywhere else. And for those of you not familiar with Rome 2's mechanics, skirmishing is very difficult to do inside the woods. It's much like Shogun 2 and some of the games that preceded it. But yeah, you can see that my opponent has a run of all these woods here. You know, I kind of expect his main force is here, but he could very well be bringing flanking elements. The thing is there's the tricky thing about this map. If my opponent deployed here, he can't actually sneak all the way around my flank with certain units. But if he crosses anywhere through here or here, I'm going to see him because there's a break in the tree line. So that's kind of any of this area. If you cross it, you're going to be seen. And then over here, there's a road on this side of the map, which means that if you cross anywhere over here, you'll become seen to your opponent. So really, the main sneaky spot is right over here. And that's why I sent this Noble Horse kind of in this direction to just make sure my opponent wasn't sneaking anything up on my flank. He has chosen the Suebi, and as of yet, we haven't seen a single unit from him. So, obviously not too long ago, I showed people how to play as the Suebi, or at least one way to play as the Suebi, not the only way. But I showed them how to potentially use the Suebi army, which is kind of funny because now I'm scared of the Suebi online because I'm worried someone's going to pull the barbarian blob formation on me and then I'm going to get caught all of a sudden in a massive frenzied charge that will just rout my army. A very real possibility when you're playing against the Suebi, especially in one of these maps where they have a chance to hide. Now the Suebi also can deploy Night Hunters anywhere on the map, so that's something to be aware of too. So I have to keep an eye on the mini-map, which I'm not very good at. But yeah, in any case, let's take a look at what I am doing. I'm going to use these woods and do some scouting, basically. So I'm going to send my Noble Horse, and again, I expect that my opponent has deployed somewhere in this vicinity, and so I'm going to go ahead and start scouting around to the rear of him with this Noble Horse, and I'm keeping a Heavy Horse here. My cab is way out on my flanks. I'm not sure that I necessarily like this, but really, if my opponent brings the type of Suebi army I'm expecting, I'm kind of expecting to be outclassed on cav. A lot of people bringing the Suebi army will end up bringing 4 heroic riders, which means that unless I brought 4 noble cav, that he would probably outclass me. And then, of course, my infantry in a head-on engagement, if my opponent uses the Ariovistus general abilities correctly, he'll crush my infantry very quickly, because of the charge and the extra AP damage that you can get. So, against other barbarian factions, the Suebi, I would say, are perfectly capable. They're not dominant, but they're perfectly capable. It's against stronger factions where it gets to be more difficult. Maybe a faction like Rome, it would be very difficult against Bactria or Egypt. Bactria, Seleucids, all of those would be tough matches. So finally, I get a view of one of my opponent's units, which is this Longbow Hunter, and then 3 of them pop up. So what I decide to do is just go ahead and move all my infantry forward towards his longbows, assuming that his other infantry was somewhere around here, but I do believe longbow hunters, they have the stalk ability, which means that they can actually cross this open ground unseen. And it's at this point that my opponent pounces out with 3, I guess, heroic riders, or noble riders, is what they're called. Heroic riders is the Iceni. So he's got 3 noble riders, and then I see spearmen. And look at this. So actually, I'm going to go back into slow motion. So I see all of a sudden a giant blob of Suebi units popping out of the woods, and all of them have this green general ability on it, which is Pride. I didn't get a chance to look closely, and I thought that it was the fast charge ability, and I was like, oh, freak, because now I'm really close to the Germans. They've all got fast charge, and so I was expecting to get hammered in an extremely tough charge, and my opponent has these cav here ready to keep me from retreating. So I was like, man, I'm screwed. He's going to charge me with this cav just to pin me in place and keep me from retreating, and then he's going to just charge the daylights out of me. But I didn't see that this was the Pride ability, which my opponent used the wrong ability here. He should have used fast charge. But let's see how it plays out, because again, I think my opponent just used the fast charge. So my strategy for countering fast charge is to retreat. So I'm going to take my whole line and I'm going to pull it back, and I'm going to try and get away from him for as long as I can, because the longer I can get away from him, it's possible that I can stop myself from taking this brutal charge. Now, I left my guys in shield wall for a minute while retreating. That's why they're going super slow. But I'll take them out and start running. Had this been a fast charge ability, he would have caught me by now. But you can see that I'm going to leave a few units behind. Spear band. I use my savage dogs to just disrupt his charge. I just want to slow his guys down. So you can see I'm retreating, and then I saw the green icon disappear off his troops. And so now I'm going to go ahead and turn around and take the charge at this point, because again, I thought that was the fast charge ability, and I didn't want to get charged. So I'm going to turn around and try and do some quick counter charges against his infantry. Again, I'll use the war dogs as a way to stop some of his charges. My opponent did not get his men out of column formation from when they were all bunched up. So he had the right idea. He tried to get his men into a group to maximize the general effects. And he hits me hard over here. I mean, he hits me real hard. He's got berserkers tearing through my levy freemen and my chosen swords. And I mean, right here, he got berserkers going wild on me with 50 kills already. And my chosen swordmen are dying very quickly. His wolf warrior's doing alright, but with not quite as much effect. And then my general, of course, is just beasting this wolf warrior. It's an oath sworn with... I'm using Relentless and Unity of the Tribes, which boost my morale, attack, and fatigue. But my opponent comes in with a quick rear charge and completely knocks out my my left flank is gone at this point. And then because of the trees, I couldn't see, and I actually am not using this one unit, but my opponent's not using it either. So I do have one unit of chosen swordsmen. Now his general came up on this flank over here with some wolf warriors, and so I decided to charge the wolf warriors with my heavy horse. And I am doing some severe damage to them, but these swordmasters are going to be a big problem. But again, my flank collapsed, and so I need to slow the bleeding, basically. And in order to slow the bleeding, I got my general into the fighting because he's a more stable unit. And then I'm going to use these levy freemen. I put them into cav counter tactics and spear wall at the last second just to slow down the enemy riders. And then I'm taking out his longbowmen to make sure they can't fire any flaming missiles into the fight. So I basically, like I said, I've got to stop the bleeding. Let's go to an overhead. Let's see, I'm the red troops. So you can see that my opponent, again, completely trashed my left flank, and he's using his spearmen to chase off my noble cav. But I'm gonna be able to get away from him, and right now I'm kind of stabilizing the fight. My general killed another wolf warrior, and I'm able to come in. I was a little late on the rear charge because they were already dead. But see right here, his noble riders get caught without getting the charge, and they get caught by my Oathsworn and my noble horse, which are pretty strong units. I am going to pull out though and try and cycle around for a better charge. And you can see here his men again not getting the best charge. And over here on my right flank, I'm actually putting him down. The only problem I still have is these swordmasters, which are getting quite a few kills. But I went ahead and decided to quit blobbing on the swordmaster, and I'm going to move in these extra sword units to come and help handle the flanks of this fight, where my general is basically holding off the whole enemy army. 178 kills and climbing on that Oathsworn, so doing a beastly job there. Sorry for the trees, you can't really see, but yeah, I'll try and get down close. So yeah, there's my general holding, and then my chosen sword band coming in to help secure the flanks. This one got a nice flank charge on the spear levy, and it's also going to keep his horsemen pinned down. And then over here, his spearmen are going to engage my chosen sword band. They don't get around my flank. My opponent got too bunched up, so this is going to be a lucky stop for me there. And my opponent should have saved. He also used his cavalry counter tactics there. He should have saved it for when he was actually fighting cav. But yeah, it's still a bloody fight, and there's still quite a few units on the field for both players. But right here, I'm going to end up getting his noble horse and a vice. I've pinned, or his noble riders. I've pinned them with one of my noble horsemen that's basically a full unit, and then I'm going to flank charge him with levy spearmen coming from downhill. I can't remember if I got cavalry counter tactics still on this unit, but I get a nice flank charge. So now all of his noble riders are pinned, and if he retreats, they're going to die. And they're already starting to die right now because of it being outflanked. His general ended up getting killed. I hit it with the quick hammer and anvil here with the noble horse. And now I can focus on the center, which just collapsed, actually. My general beasting out 232 kills. So that fight actually started out very much in the favor of the Suebi player, and then swung back into my favor. And part of the reason it started out in his favor is, look at the gruesome results that he got from his berserkers here. They came in, and they got those kills very quickly. And that's what caused the rout on my left flank. And my opponent did a good job of starting to wrap it up. He brought his heroic riders in and started to wrap me up. The problem is he didn't finish the wrap up fast enough. So his left flank, my right flank, was doing better for me, and he wasn't able to get those heroic riders over there. He did a big blob run into that one flank. It was already probably going to wrap in his favor anyway, and what I think he should have done was taken two of those noble riders and continued one of them into my general, and he should have taken the other one around all the way to the edge of the other flank, and he very well could have collapsed my whole army there. And that was even with him making the mistake about not using fast charge properly. The Suebi just have a strong charge, and they have good scare units. And against another barbarian faction without the discipline units and some of the formation attack and all that other stuff, you can create a chain route even without the special abilities. And like I said, in this case, my opponent had started to do it on one flank. It's just that his attack wasn't organized enough. And to his credit, as I've tried to use the Suebi blob effectively, it's not real easy because you have to have a lot of micro and you have to do it really quick in order to do it right. But when you do, it's devastatingly effective, like very effective, because their charge just becomes gruesomely powerful. But again, it takes a lot of micromanagement to get it right, and if your opponent starts to try and counter you, it's going to take that much more micromanagement to try and take them out, so it can be difficult. Anyway, this is a fun matchup. I don't often get to do barbarian on barbarian matchups here, especially Arverni Suebi. This is a cool matchup. Two fun factions to play as. I think the Arverni sport sturdier infantry, whereas of course the Suebi have those specialist units like berserkers and wolf warriors that can cause fear and potentially get a good chain route going. But as far as like just unit availability, the Arverni are a stronger faction. They've got more swordsmen, they've got a good selection of spearmen, they've got a good selection of cavalry. But again, the Suebi have those specialist units that you have to be able to use properly in order to turn the fight in your favor. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that one. HeirofCarthage signing off for now.